So evacuated tube hot water heaters have a big thermos on them. I think for some of my purposes that thermos is completely irrelevant because I don't want the water to stay warm. I want to move that heat into a building in some cases or into a thermal mass. So really I just need the tubes. I could just have the tubes and an insulated pipe that brings that water into the house, hopefully up into the house. And so I got to figure that out. I got to figure out like those tubes and how I can connect them to insulated piping. Because even a little bit of heat goes a long way. So when I imagine like a small hut, for example, which I was thinking about, you know, your body has about 70 watts of an incandescent bulb worth of heat. And so your body heat will heat it up. And I generally want to build small huts with small windows and big porches. So you're outside more of the day, but you've got your little space to hide out in, your little hidey hole. And I want that to be warm. And then I was thinking, well, what if there was a little thing outside of it that was a good little stove, you know, a wood-fired stove. You use it, if I have that heat there, then I want to have some piping that then moves that heat into the building. But then I was thinking, wait a minute, why am I relying on wood at all? I mean, I'm not totally against using wood for some cooking, but a little tube sitting there right next to the hut, hopefully lower down because then the water would automatically flow up into the hut, would produce a lot of heat in that hut. And if it was too hot, you can always open a little window and you can cool it down. So having it be too hot is not a problem, although obviously we wouldn't want to have it be a very big system for heating a tiny hut. So it could even just be one single tube out there. One single evacuated tube heating thing, which will heat water up really hot, that water flows up into the building. And you could put a radiator there, but then you're only heating the air, which is fine. But I would rather have that copper tubing or something run through like, you know, some kind of a thermal mass of any kind. And of course this only works if the tube is lower. If the tube was higher, you'd have to have a pump that would pump that water down into the building. And of course it's easier to get sun if you're up above. So we have a kind of inherent conflict of where to put the tube. But I'm really imagining it doesn't have to be all that amazingly efficient. Another option would be if you had a cluster of huts that was on a slope, you might have a south-facing slope and have a larger system, and perhaps it does even have a thermos, just to stabilize things. And then that water comes up and goes into multiple huts. So, you know, there used to be like steam systems and things in buildings, and they would heat the building. This is kind of like that, except instead of steam, it's water. And that water all moves automatically without a pump. I'm trying to avoid the pump because pumps break. And I don't want any moving parts. The only thing that should be moving is the hot water. And we don't even have to have really that cycle very well as far as input and output on it because the water could even be moving within the same tube. The hot water is always going to go up. Now on a bigger system, maybe you do, especially one or a system that has the thermos as a stabilizing element. Maybe you would have the incoming water be the coolest out of the house and stuff. So anyway, the idea then is to heat something up so that your building, your little magic hut, is toasty warm all the time because I don't like being cold. I don't like being cold, and I'm cold at night. I dislike it intensely.